Hello guys, it's time for FPL back now for me. Today's video is going to be my Game Week 16 review and my plans for Game Week 17. Now, Game Week 16, it was going really well, quite high above the average. And then last game to play, obviously I did have Gallagher, and I did have him on my bench, and he may have scored 2 goals. So yeah, that really did lower my mood. And if I had Gallagher in, then that would have been an 80-point game week. Again, sorry for the background noise. Let's just start again. But yeah, would have been an 80-point game week, and that would have been absolutely fantastic. Would have made my rank go up so much. And yeah, so but a bit about my rank. So I was 520k before the game started. At my peak, I managed to get into I think about 390 something k. And then a few more games passed, 415k, and then right after Crystal Palace, now I'm 460k. So that, and basically no one else got 2 points there, and you sort of had Will Hughes. But yeah, so basically Gallagher did sort of ruin my game week, even though I had him in my team. But these sort of things happen in FPL, and the only player I would have played him over would have probably been Jota. Now, thinking in hindsight, and always in hindsight, when you know what's going to happen, the decisions are a lot easier. But in hindsight, I probably should have played him over Saint Maximin or Antonio. Now, West Ham and Burnley, you always thought West Ham were going to win that game quite comfortably. Didn't really turn out so. And then with Saint Maximin, he had quite a lot of chances. I was watching the Newcastle game, and he was one of the standout players in my opinion. Especially for Newcastle, in a team that played absolutely horrible in a 4-0 loss to Leicester. Yeah, he did actually play quite good, and yeah, so he got quite a few dribbles off some players, got some chances on goal, and definitely could have got a few goals that game, or at least a return. I guess goals. He didn't really show much of an assist threat, but yeah, and then Antonio then, obviously not in his most sharpest form of his life at the moment, just especially like he was at the start of the season. So we're definitely hoping for better as well. Now, defensively, just quickly brushing over this, obviously Ramsdale in goal managed to get me 11 points. Very good, very good. I'm happy with that. Against Southampton, you're always expecting a clean sheet. And then Cancelo, Rudiger, James and Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, I'm sort of lucky that Rudiger did manage to get 2 assists. Now, Rudiger, I think, is one of those underrated players in FPL. Now, obviously, in your back line, you do want fullbacks, especially in this modern era of football, where the fullbacks are very attacking. They'll get you the clean sheet points, and at most times they're playing like wingers. But I think Rudiger's a bit of an exception because, something that I personally admire about his play as well, also being a centre-back, a bit of intel about my whole life. But yeah, yeah, Rudiger driving forward, really good. He's driving forward, and at times he's getting into getting in positions of sort of an attacking midfielder, and then taking shots or releasing the ball off to other players. But yeah, Rudiger is definitely one of the underrated players. Now, of course, a wing back or a full back in the game would probably be better, but Rudiger at the moment, I think, is a bit of a differential if you want, because there's so many good players in so many good defenders in the game, and obviously you can see Rudiger 22% owned, and then you got Cancelo 37% owned. And basically all the fullbacks will have a lot more players, a lot more people owning them. So as you can see, Rudiger like a whole 10-15% less owned than all the other defenders like James, Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo. But yeah, enough about the defence. Moving on to midfield. Obviously Bernardo, Jota, Salah, and Mount. I did bring in Mount, and thank goodness he scored a goal, because my luck this season has been absolutely atrocious. Whenever I bring a player in that I've been looking at for a few weeks and they've been scoring loads of points, they're blank. Whenever I don't bring a player in like Mount, then they score a lot. So yeah, Mount is literally the prime example of my whole FPL season summed up to you. Hence why my rank is not the most impressive, but it is still good. And there'll be many people probably watching this video who will have a rank lower. Many people who have rank higher, but yeah, I'm not gonna say having a rank of about 450k is not too bad. Now that might go down. I'm not sure how FPL are doing it. But yeah, so around that, yeah. So Mount, obviously, I did have him in for a few game weeks. He blanked, and then I took him out my team. He got 2 10+ point returns, and then I sort of raised transferred him last week, and I did manage to get a little 6-pointer. which I'm not complaining about. Still 6 points. Would have preferred the 10 or 12 he got before. But yeah, obviously Salah captain, just a safe option. Nothing really to say about Salah. Mr. Consistent in there. And then Jota, the one I could have played instead of could have benched instead of Gallagher. And that Gallagher thing's gonna haunt me now. That's just my luck combined. But yeah, Jota. I mean, I sort of took the risk in him starting, but obviously in hindsight, as I just said, everything's a lot easier to say. And then Bernardo Silva now. Man City versus Wolves. Go watch one of my previous videos. I think I mentioned it. Maybe not in as much detail as I am gonna say I did now. But against Wolves, Wolves are actually a very, very solid defensively. Very, very solid defensive team. Um, so of course, no one's going to be more defensively solid than Manchester City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. But in terms of like mid-table teams, obviously the defenders won't be as expected, and Wolves' assets could definitely be a very good option. Definitely not Wolves' attacking assets, as attackingly they've barely been scoring any goals, but defensively they've been really, really good. So. Obviously, Man City, I was watching the game, found it very, very hard to get past them. Now, of course, Man City could have got 2 or 3 goals. There were a few times when the ball was crossed across the box, just need a little touch, or just some shots from outside the box or inside the box. Man City did make quite a lot of chances. I think it was like 19 shots, but the amount of those that actually came to the goalkeeper, it was definitely a few, but not as much as everyone would have expected. So yeah, a few people captained Bernardo, and I just thought it was definitely the wrong option. And yeah, so he managed to get the assist for the penalty, which I mean I still don't agree with FPL giving assists for penalties. But yeah, obviously Sterling did manage to score that as well. And then my front line, I did briefly touch on it when I was talking about my Gallagher replacement. Antonio St. Maximin, just really, really not good enough. So yeah, obviously I touched on it earlier. So if you did skip till now, then just go watch that bit back. So yeah, obviously could have been 80 points, but leaning on my team for next week. So obviously Cancelo did get his 5th yellow card, so he is going to have to serve a suspension. It is against Leeds, so although Leeds are one of the teams lower in the table, they're a bit like Watford are now, if you like, getting so many goals, or well, yeah, they're sort of like similar to Watford. I'd absolutely love to watch Watford play Leeds. Actually, when are they playing them? I'll check in a second. But yeah, Cancelo versus Leeds. Leeds, out of any team, sort of bottom 8, they're probably the most likely to score against the big teams just because of the way they play. Now, by all means, I'd definitely still keep Cancelo in my team just for the attacking threat as well and the possible chance for clean sheet. But Leeds, very attacking team. Same like Watford as well. Watford aren't really the team to target. Especially bringing in defenders against Watford, definitely not the team to target. And then midfield wise, Gallagher, I did obviously have a bit of a moan at him at the start. He was playing quite deep, hence why I benched him. And then the only game, well, not the only game I benched him. I did bench him the game week before, but the game week I bench him, he gets 12 points and is playing a lot higher. So I did watch the second half of the Everton Crystal Palace game, which was the sort of interesting to watch half. The first half, as I looked at the stats, just seemed quite boring, but second half, full of entertainment. I think from the 75th minute onwards, it was just end-to-end football. It was absolutely fantastic. But Crystal Palace, on their day, I mean, they're a really, really good team. Now, I do admire Patrick Vieira as a manager. But yeah, Crystal Palace on their day is a really, really good team. Obviously, Vieira as a manager, sort of new into the sort of role, so they are struggling for consistency a bit. But when Palace are on their day, which is obviously hard to predict, they're definitely a very, very good team and a team to look out for. Now, I will be starting Gallagher at Southampton. Now, no, my lucky's probably going to blank. But yeah, so that's what my team looks like. I've got Ramsdale in goal against West Ham. Now, West Ham, with the way they're playing at the moment, obviously they did come out of a Chelsea result 3-2. West Ham are a bit of, sort of, I don't want to say like Palace, but consistency-wise like Palace. Not really much else like Palace, but consistency-wise a bit like Palace, where some games they're consistent. Like they have maybe 2 or 3, 4 game consistent run, and then they have a few wibbly wobbly games. Beating Chelsea, and then was it? I think it finished 0-0 against Burnley. Definitely didn't. If they're playing against like they did against Chelsea, then they would have absolutely battered Burnley. But fair play to Burnley being able to keep a clean sheet no matter how good West Ham did play. So my defensive back line, I've got Rudiger, James, Alexander-Arnold, and Lamptey. Now obviously I would be playing Cancelo in there. But Lamptey against Wolves, as I just said, Wolves very defensive team. Brighton versus Wolves, 2 very defensive teams. I honestly can only really see a 0-0 or 1-0 either team. So I think that the chances are about 60% being a 0-0 or 1-0 either team. Could potentially be a 1-0, but anything above that, I just really don't see possible. Obviously, Brighton and Wolves, two of the most defensive teams in the league. And then Alexander-Arnold against Newcastle. I mean, the way Newcastle were today was absolutely, wasn't something to admire. Obviously, I've got St. Maximin on the bench, and I'm not planning on bringing him either. And then, so yeah, Alexander-Arnold could definitely get some attacking returns as well as hopefully a clean sheet. Rudiger and James now against Everton. Everton today did have a little bit of a spark towards the end of the game, with the end-to-end football like I was talking about earlier in the video. This has been quite a long video as well, got quite a bit to say, sorry about that. But yeah, Everton looking like a pretty decent team. Well, not a pretty decent team, I'm just waffling at the moment. But yeah, they look like a team that could spring back, on the counter-attack. That sort of team. But yeah, I'm definitely expecting Chelsea to keep a clean sheet and hopefully get some attacking returns. Pretty much the same with Rudiger. Bernardo against Leeds, definitely very confident in him there. Leeds, although they're good at attacking, they're not really the best at defending. You can say that for sure. Now, they just got split open like a can of beans against Brentford when I was watching that game. Yeah, it wasn't... The defence is just like in a zigzag line. I don't know what they're trying to do, Leeds, to be fair. But, some people admire the way they play. I just think when it works, it's good, but when it doesn't work, it's not good. And you never know the way football evolves. With the attacking fullbacks this year, you never know. Maybe in a few years, everyone will be playing like Leeds. That would be fun to watch, wouldn't it? But yeah, so Bernardo in there, definitely going to keep him in. And then Jota and Salah now. Jota, obviously, I'm still not sure how long Firmino's going to be out for, but the rate it seems like, what am I trying to say? How it's looking like now, I'm probably going to keep Jota, and then Salah as captain, just as normal, and then Mount against Everton, hoping for attacking return, but knowing my luck, he's probably going to blank after bringing him in, getting a 6-pointer, then a 0-pointer, how lovely, eh? And then, obviously, Antonio up front, he's the one I'm planning to get out of my team, but I'm not too sure who for yet. So, leading on to my transfer plans. So, obviously, Antonio out of the team. I want to keep St. Maximin just because I like his attacking threat for Newcastle. If we look at their fixtures now, they do have 3 bad fixtures. And I'll probably just bench him for all them and then put him back in my team after because he's got some good fixtures there. I could definitely sell him as well. But the transfers I'm planning to do is I'm very reluctant at getting Ronaldo in. But that is one that I'm got to consider just because the amount of people that own him. It was a bit like the Jota situation where if I didn't bring him in and he scored highly, which is what probably would have happened, then I would have, not had the best game week. But he did get a goal late on, I believe it was like 2 game weeks ago, when I did take him out for... Who was it for? I honestly can't remember who for. I'm a bit waffling now. But yeah, the reason I don't want to bring Ronaldo in is he's the sort of same price around Salah, the ultimate premium options. But if you look at it, it is really not like the only good thing is his fixtures. 12.4 mil against Norwich, Man United really had no spark in them whatsoever. It was sluggish, it was horrible, and he only got a penalty, didn't he? And it was definitely a penalty. He sort of just put his arms around him, gave Ronaldo a bit of a better hug. I believe it was Max Aarons who pulled him down, and it was definitely a penalty. But it's got to be better than that. And Ronaldo himself didn't look his best either. So yeah, Ronaldo 12.4 mil. He's got some good fixtures. He's playing Brentford next now. Brentford defensively could be a good team, on their day, but they could be split open like a can of beans as well. No, I should probably stop saying that now. But yeah, Ronaldo's definitely the one I'm thinking about, but I'm just not too sure on him. The other one that I am probably going to do is Ollie Watkins. Now, obviously, I could keep Antonio, and Antonio is probably going to score. But Ollie Watkins is the other one. And then the other striker I'm thinking about for Juan, just because he's got bad fixtures, is King. Now, obviously, Dennis is on better form. But it's definitely between King and Dennis. Now, King is on penalties, and that's the main thing swinging me towards him. But yeah, both really cheap strikers, and both really good options. So, I know this video was a very long one, guys, but I hope it contains a lot of good information for you. Obviously, I will be posting videos leading up to the deadline of sort of my watch list players, best differentials, all of those sort of things that you guys love. But thank you for watching this video, and please like, subscribe.